What's going on, everybody? BD Anthony here. In this video, I'm going to tell you the movies that I've watched and give you my input. The movies that I watched 2 weeks ago. And if you guys seen these movies or have not seen them, if you have not seen them, I would recommend these movies. But if you have seen them, comment below and tell me what you think of them. And the first one I watched was Sam Peckinpah's The Cross of Iron, which stars James Coburn, Maximilian Schell, James Mason, David Warner, and Santa Berger. And in this, James Coburn plays as a corporal who leads a group of German soldiers on the Russian front. And he's also a recipient of the Iron Cross, which is Germany's highest medal of honor. And his authority comes to attack when Maximilian Schell's character, who plays as the captain in this, takes over his troops. And the only thing on his mind, and knowing the fact that he's a recipient of the Iron Cross, Maximilian Schell's character is after it as well. And he would do anything to get that Iron Cross. And by doing that, during one attack, he took the credit for something. He took credit for the attack that he did not lead to. And because of this, Maximilian Schell's character asks James Coburn's character to collaborate his story. And James Coburn's character refused because how he feels about German officers or any officers. And that's where the rivalry started. Very good but long World War II movie. And I knew I was going to like this because I've seen Sam Peckinpah films. And if you guys really want to get into a Sam Peckinpah movie, this is one of the movies of his you should check out. And great casting too. James Coburn, you can't go wrong with him. Maximilian Schell. It was no surprise he was going to play a German officer or Russian. But despite he was an anti-Nazi, for some reason, he was always typecast as a Nazi. And I'm going to get into typecasting. What sucks and what's good about typecasting. Good about being typecast, you get work. But what sucks, people are just going to see you as that same character over and over and over and over again. And it gets boring. Being typecast has some good. Being typecast has some bad. I don't know. In this one audio commentary, he was happy he got this role because he didn't play a Nazi this time. And James Mason, you can't go wrong with James Mason. You can't go wrong with David Warner as well. And the lovely Santa Berger as well. Also, James Coburn worked with Sam before on Major Dundee and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Also, David Warner worked with Sam on Battle of the Cable Hogue, which I have the movie, but I have not seen it yet. Gotta watch it. And Santa Berger also worked with Sam on Major Dundee as well. Awesome war movie. Well done war movie. Highly recommend it. And the next one I watched was this has 4 movies on here. And one of these 4 movies I watched was Commandos with Lee Van Cleef. And in this movie, Lee Van Cleef plays as a sergeant who trains American soldiers and disguises them as Italian soldiers to infiltrate the North African camp that is held by Italians. And everything was going to plan until a lot of hell breaks loose during that. Honestly, it was nice. Excuse me. Honestly, it was nice to see Lee Van Cleef playing a military person instead of a cowboy, because that's what he was known to play as, cowboys, in a lot of westerns, especially spaghetti westerns. On this DVD, it wasn't a bad quality, but it wasn't a good quality like a Blu-ray, but I did enjoy it. If this is on Turner Classic Movies, I would recommend it, record it, and watch it. You'll definitely love it. And the next one I watched was Pretty Boy Floyd with John Erickson. And this movie is about Charles Arthur Floyd, aka Pretty Boy Floyd. And this movie is about his life, how he became a gangster, his upbringings and downfalls during this movie. I've heard of Pretty Boy Floyd. I've seen movies that have to do with him, like Public Enemies with Johnny Depp, where Channing Tatum had a cameo in that movie. And also Dillinger with Warren Oates. Pretty Boy Floyd had something to do with in that film as well. And also, Peter Falk had a small, minor role. And when I think of Peter Falk, I bet you guys think of him as well. I always think of him as the grandfather in The Princess Bride. I love these kind of gangster movies, and I think they made a right choice by casting John Erickson as Pretty Boy Floyd. And the next one I watched was The Duelist, which stars Keith Carradine and Harvey Keitel. And they both plays as French soldiers. And this movie takes place during the reign of Napoleon in France. Keith Carradine plays as a French soldier who has a warrant for Harvey Keitel's character to place him under house arrest because Harvey Keitel's character almost killed the mayor's nephew during a sword fight. And Harvey Keitel's character gets insulted, and because of this, he tells him, Keith Carradine's character, draw his sword. And they battle, do the sword fight, and Keith Carradine's character injures Harvey Keitel's character, and this leads to a long grudge and battle against each other by sword fights and pistol shootings, which would last for 15 years especially during the war. I watched this movie years ago, and I remember it was slow, but I did enjoy it. And directed by Ridley Scott. You can't go wrong with Ridley Scott. And I would recommend this movie too, because this was Ridley Scott's directorial debut. And when I watched it, I said to myself, not bad for his first movie. And ever since he did this movie, he would go on to making Alien, Blade Runner, Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, American Gangster. I could keep going. He has quite a profile. Highly recommend this. And the last one I watched was Orson Welles' movie, The Lady from Shanghai, directed by Orson Welles, Rita Hayworth, with Errol Sloan, Glenn Anders, and Ted DeCorsia, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Orson Welles plays as a seaman who is fascinated by the beauty of Rita Hayworth's character, and he is hired by her husband, Everett Sloan's character, on a yacht. to work as a seaman. And Everett Sloane's businessman offers him a lot of money to help him with a murder plot. So he can just... So the associate can just disappear until... And when Orson Welles' character agreed to do it and help him with the plot, the Everett Sloane's associate turns up actually dead, and Orson Welles gets arrested for it, and he tries to prove he's innocent, but nobody believes him. This was my first Orson Welles directed movie, but I've seen him in one movie that I really did not care, and it was called The Black Rose with Tyrone Power. And I gotta say, this was a really well done film, and I love noir films. If you guys have not seen a Orson Welles movie, this should be on your list. I would give 10 out of 10 stars for this movie. Well, that's all the movies that I've watched. And I have not done a video in 2 weeks because I just did not feel like turning on the camera, to be honest. And YouTube is work. People think it's fun and games, but YouTube is work. And if you guys like me doing these videos, smack the like button, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.